They would always talk about their Indian ancestry. They would always talk about their Native American ancestry, right? Or they would try to link themselves back to the ancient Egyptians. You know, we basically wanted to be anything other than African. Could that be because the so-called white man placed a stigma on Africa, making it seem like these were backwards people who, you know, had no real civilization, built no real civilization, basically, as you say, jungle people, when they get that term calling off people, jungle bunnies, back in the days to refer to our people as jungle bunnies, Caucasians, right? So ask yourself this question. If we are so-called African Americans, why is it that our people would rather gravitate toward ancient Egypt and Native American culture over the African culture? You got a lot of cultural, you know, and a lot of African culture. You got over a bunch of like 50-something different countries in Africa, and it's a very culture-rich place, tribal culture and things like that, right? And even then, a lot of them, they get caught up in Islam, and they start to adopt Islamic culture into their African tribal cultures, okay? But why is it that that culture doesn't appeal to us? Why is it that African culture, you know, if we're supposed to be African American, right, this is what we were told, right, by the Pan-Africanist movement, by people like Jesse Jackson, who gave us that terminology, African American, which really didn't come from him. It came from his Caucasian Zionist bosses who told him to tell your people you African American. I told you around that time in the 70s, they was pushing that whole African thing on our people heavy. That's why they came out with the movie Roots. You see, and I always said, you know what I say? It was all a lie. We're not even going to, you know, mince words and play games, but it was all a lie that we had African heritage or African roots. That is a lie. The reason why Native American culture and ancient Egyptian culture appeals to our people, because ancient Egyptian culture and so-called Native American culture all comes from Mesoamerican culture. That's why. That's why. The pyramids come from Mesoamerica, not Egypt. The whole, you know, so-called the feathers and the dancing and things like that, and you know, the things they tell you that's native to American Indians, that's all Mesoamerican culture. That's all Olmecs, Aztec, Inca, Mayan, our culture. You see, all of that is Mesoamerican. All the things that's being promoted as ancient Egyptian culture, that's being promoted as Native American culture, is Mesoamerican culture. Again, the Olmecs, the Aztec, the Inca, the Mayan, Toltec, those are our people, man. These are our people, over thousands and thousands of years of heritage history laid out, you see. And, of course, the so-called white man wanted to separate us from that history, from that heritage. And how was he able to do that? By telling our people that we were Africans. You see, I told you the reason why they started calling our people Africans, because at one point in time they did bring slaves. They attempted to bring slaves into this country from Africa. They attempted to bring tribal Africans here, but that didn't go too well, right? And then after a while, you know, slavery was only supposed to be for so-called Africans, people of African descent. In other words, they weren't really supposed to enslave no people here, you know. So what they wanted to do, they said they'll just lump all so-called black people together with the Africans and call us Africans, and therefore justify enslaving our people as though we came off of slave ships from Africa. I told you most of the ships that they told me they brought our people on, it wasn't from Africa. It was from South America. A lot of our people were brought from South America. A lot of our people were brought from different parts of America. And a lot of our people were just straight up kidnapped and taken hostage, right, and put into bondage. Or a lot of our people hired themselves out as indentured servants to make money, because when the white man started establishing the monetary system here, right, of dollars and things like that, when he started establishing that, he made it hard for people who were not white to get that money. They were setting up trade here, and in the trade they were setting up, they were trying to force people who were not white, you see, the so-called black people, or as they call us, the copper-colored races, the real natives of America, the Mesoamericans, they wanted to force us out of that trade. of having paper dollars, owning land. So as they were establishing their colonies, they were basically trying to shut us out of our own homeland. You see, talking about passing laws, setting up colonies, because see, they came in and, like I said, like how Caucasians do, they gentrified areas. That's what these Caucasians did. They came here and gentrified areas, took up areas and whatnot, and they felt as though this place was not colonized. They'll come into whole areas where people are living, people are have property, land that they're working on, living on. They'll come in with a government or a colonization squad. That's why I call them a colonization squad, and take over that land, right, and enslave the people. This is what they did. Bring weapons and bring groups of people that basically take over and enslave the people, rape the women, do what they do. And you know, this is what happened here in America. But they did it gradually, though. It was done in gradual stages, right? Until when you see what you got now, people are being referred to as black people, right? Instead of the copper-colored people, the copper-colored races, we're being referred to as African-American instead of Mesoamerican, which is what we really are. And in losing our Mesoamerican heritage, in losing our Mesoamerican history, we lost everything that has been connected to us. But see how a deep connection, a deep magnetic connection works? A deep magnetic connection works, whereas if we had been living out, as we had been living out all of that culture and that history, that heritage of building pyramids, living in cities, living in governments, because those were governments. You know, even the white man admits that. Not that it matter what he thinks, but even he admits that. Those were ancient governments. Those were ancient governments that were set up that preceded this government that they have here. In fact, the so-called Native Americans, I'm not even going to call them Native Americans, because the Native Americans are the Mesoamericans. I mean, the American Indians, the Mongoloid-looking Indians, they came and all they did was copy our culture, our Mesoamerican culture. That's all they did. Those people come from no culture. Those so-called Indians you see with the straight hair who look like they're Asian, those are Asian people. Those are Asiatics. They crossed the Bering Straits and mixed in with our people who were already practicing a Mesoamerican heritage and culture, a pyramid building, mound building, architecture, farming culture. So we had a very, very, very rich culture, you see, that encompassed all of the things that you think of from some other culture. We had a very rich culture of architecture and building pyramids and mounds and things like that, setting up governments, having that culture, which you think is Native American culture, or so-called, American Indian culture, which is really Native American or Mesoamerican culture. The feathers in the hair, the dance and the moccasins, all that other stuff, right? The Navajo hats with the feather in it, that's all that's Mesoamerican, all of that. See, we was already doing that already. Okay, you talking about a history that they're trying to erase from the society. Why are they trying to erase that history? Ask yourself, why are they trying to erase that history? Why are they telling you that the first people, the first natives of America are American Indians? Why are they telling you that? Why are they telling you that lie that those are the Native Americans? And why is, again, I keep saying this, why isn't Mesoamerican culture, which is extensive, you see, why isn't Mesoamerican culture, which is way much longer than American history, why isn't Mesoamerican culture and history included in the American history lessons of the society? Why is it, if you're talking about the history of America, where's Mesoamerican culture? Where's their culture at? They're not going to show you that culture, because then they're going to, it messes up the lie. It messes up the lie that the people that were here were Mongoloid Indians. You see, it messes up the lie that you came over here on slave ships. You see, that messes up the lie that you were jungle savages they took out of the jungles of Africa, West Africa, or wherever they claim they got you from, and put you in cargo slave ships and brought you here. That messes up that lie. You see, that messes up the lie. They can't teach that you were free people, that you were prosperous people, and that they came here as vagabonds, you see, thieves, murderers, vagabonds, you see, savages. Those are the ones who came here as savages, eating each other. That's the all documented fact. That if it wasn't for our people feeding these Caucasians that came over here from England, from forget where else they came from Spain and all that. If it wasn't for our people showing them how to feed themselves, clean themselves, and do all the things to take care of themselves, they would have died off over here. They would have died. And they should have let them die. Our people see with our compassion, being compassionate people, we should have let them die. Should have killed them on the shores. America would have been a whole lot different. A whole lot different. See, the Mesoamerican culture would have been intact, right? And we would have been a lot better off today. We would have knew who we were as a people. Now, would we have come into the mindset of who we are now? Possibly. I bear witness certain things are necessary because obviously there was supposed to be the way this government is set up, the way, you know, the evolution came with people, you know, with cars and planes and trains. And so, even though we could have got that anyway without the so-called white man here or these other races of people that came here to destroy this country, you know, even though we had, you know, because like I said, we were the foundation and the base for all of that. Off of our slave labor, volunteer labor, fighting for this country, we were always the backbone as Mesoamericans in this country that kept this country up straight. And what did we get in return? We get to be told we black people. You see, they don't want us to participate as Mesoamericans, as the real Mesoamericans, the real Native Americans in the foundation and the building of this land. You have to participate in the background. See, because that's all slavery was about. It was about using us, the real Mesoamericans, as the slave labor. You see, to push up the image of the so-called white man as the newly invented Americans. Because that was newly invented. Calling those people Americans is newly invented. Even in the Merriam-Webster dictionary, they tell you right there that the word American is applied to the copper-colored races. You see, the term American, and they tell you the term American is not from Amerigo Vespucci. So what they're telling you is that our people had a culture here before the white man got here, before the so-called Asians got here. We had a long-standing culture here, a long-standing heritage here, and it was not African. It was not African. You see, you get a lot of these so-called Pan-Africans who I told you are working in concert with the so-called white man. They're working in concert with him to promote this lie that we came from Africa on slave ships and that we got into, the only way we got into America is through slavery. That's a lie. That we got here into America through slavery by the white man, which is a lie, a huge lie. But why do they keep telling you this lie? Why do they keep telling us this lie that we got over here into America through slave ships from Africa on cargo slave ships? Through the white man. Why do they keep telling this lie? And then why do you get these Negroes perpetuating the lie? That go for the Israelites. That go for some of the Moors, some of them, right? That go for the Pan-Africanists, right? That go for some of the Muslims who don't know the real history, don't know the true heritage of our people, who think that, oh, we came over here on cargo slave ships and therefore we are second-class citizens here, because had it not been for the white man, because I told you had this idiot. I told you I keep always bringing this idiot up. You don't hear much from him anymore. This clown, what is his name? Ben Carson. Yeah, if it wasn't for the white man, we would have been in Africa somewhere studying Islam and swinging and hanging out in trees and studying Islam. All kind of stupid nonsense from him. So they prop these Negroes up to say stupid stuff like that, just like they prop these Negroes up to tell us this lie that we're African. Yet we do not accept, nor do we gravitate toward African culture. Why is that if we're African? Why do we not gravitate toward African culture, tribal culture? Why do we not? Why do we gravitate more toward the Native American? Why do you see our people putting feathers in their hair and talking about their Native American heritage? No, you're really talking about your Mesoamerican heritage. Stop trying to align yourself with these Mongoloid Indians. I want to tell all you so-called black people, stop with this black Indian BS. Please stop with this. Please stop with the black Indian nonsense. Okay? We're not black Indians. Please stop with that. You're Mesoamericans. That's why you are attracted to Mesoamerican culture. The feathers, the pony skin, the hide, that's Mesoamerican culture. That's not Native. That's not American Indian culture. That's not Indian culture, period. You know what Indian culture is? Indian culture is those people over there with the damn dots on their head. That's Indian culture. Those are Indians. Okay? That has nothing to do with the culture that these people are talking about, where they got where they show you, the Indian totem pole, they show you the Mesoamerican faces. Why do the so-called Indians have those Indian totem poles, and why do they build their teepees like pyramids? That is an ode to Mesoamerican culture, the pyramids that we built in the Yucatan and Mexico and going further out. And you still have mounds here in Georgia and other places in America. You have Mesoamerican mounds here that they hide and it's covered over with shrubbery, Olmec heads and all of that. And that's all Mesoamerican culture. You see? You Negroes, y'all so programmed to be second-class citizens. You so programmed to be black people. You so programmed to be, anytime somebody, you know, your history or heritage come up, first thing y'all do is y'all start talking this, oh, we black, we the black version of this, we the black this, we the black. You're not the black anything. You're not no black Indian. Like I said, the Indian culture is the real Indian culture is the East Indians. Punjab and all the Punjabi and the rest of them and the dot heads. You see, and some of those people, like I said, are mixed in with the so-called American Indian. The East Indians and the Asians are your Mongoloid Indians. Okay, that has not. They're not the original people here. They crossed the Bering Straits. Look up their history. Look up the history of the Mongoloid people and how they came into Mexico and all these other things, and how the Mexicans look like Asians over there now because they all the same people. Those are all the same people. Those are Asians in Mexico calling themselves Mexican. The real old Mexican or the Olmec people are the bronze people, the so-called black people that are there, that they don't want to show you. Those are the real Mexicans, the descendants of the Olmec people. You see, the descendants of the Olmecs, the Mayan, the Aztec, the Inca are right here in America falsely being called African American. Now, like I said, when that is put out here, you'll see that a lot of these Negroes, a lot of these Pan-African Negroes that are bought into the lie, into the black lie, they're going to, of course, stand up against this. They're going to stand up against it. They're going to hate this. They're going to hate the truth, the reality of who we are, because they're black now. They are caught in the crosshairs of black and white now. They're constantly, they're magnetically linked. They're mentally linked with the so-called white man and his lie. They got a lot invested in that, especially your Pan-Africanist. You think your Pan-Africanist like Umar Johnson going to say, oh, my bad, you know, we not African. He ain't going to do that. He's not going to do that. Pan-Africanism is played out, man. Why you think Pan-Africanism is played out right now? See, because we coming into the time of illumination and revelation. We're coming into the time of illumination and revelation. You see? Illumination for us, revelation for the rest of the world, where everything's being revealed. The lies of the so-called white man are being revealed right now, and the reality of who our people are is being revealed. So, you know, people like Umar Johnson, all the Pan-Africanists, they're having a hard time pushing Pan-Africanism over to our people. And ask yourself a question, Umar Johnson, your people got heritage in Cuba. You're from Cuba. Your people are Cuban. Why aren't you over in Cuba pushing Pan-Africanism to the Cubans? Why you ain't someplace else? Why did they come to America and push Pan-Africanism? Pan-Africanism is not even popping in Africa. The people in Africa not even embracing Pan-Africanism. They trying to be like the Mesoamericans here. They trying to follow the Mesoamericans. Trying to be rappers, throwing up gangs, like all the nigger nonsense, but they're trying to follow us. Ain't nobody checking for no African culture. Nobody's checking for it. They supposed to be the so-called, and then you got the so-called white men. They calling themselves African too. The ones who tell me, oh, we got a quarter African in us, and so we African too. You see? And Umar, you can't say nothing about it, or you Pan-Africanists, because you said all life started in Africa. So if all life started in Africa, then white people can claim Africanism too. They can claim Pan-Africanism too. Why can't they? If you say all life started in Africa, if you say we all the same, this is what y'all preach. This is what you preach. So if you believe that, if you truly believe that, then you can't say nothing when these people claim they Africans or African Americans, or when they come into America, they doing that. You had Charlize Theron. Remember I told you she claims African American, and she can claim African American. Yes, she can. She can claim African American all day. You see, because that's not really a nationality nor a heritage. That's not a nationality. That's not a real nationality. That's not a culture. African American. What is African American culture? What is it? What is African American culture? You couldn't tell me, right? Nobody could tell you what African American culture is, because before you call a people something, it has to be linked to a culture, a heritage. What is African American culture and heritage? You know what it is? It's slavery. It's soul food, aka bad food, pig feet. It's Negro spirituals. It's niggas getting hung out of the trees by these damn Ku Klux Klan and all these cave animals, these cave beasts getting abused by these cave beasts. That's what your African American culture is. It's Martin Luther King. That's what your African American culture is. And we're just gonna call it like this. These Negroes are coons, man. They're coons. We got a lot of coons here who want to keep the lie going. We're not gonna put these people up as heroes and whatnot. We're just gonna be real with it. It's time, I'm gonna just say something. The time for being fake and phony and putting people up on pedestals and trying to be respectful of the people who have aided in hiding our heritage, whether they were doing it out of ignorance or whether they're willfully doing it to get a check from the so-called white man, because I told you, there's a lot invested in getting us to believe that we come from someplace else. There's a lot invested in getting us to believe we came from someplace else. Okay? Because, again, the mindset will be very, very different. The actions will be very, very different when you got people who know that they are the true Native Americans, the true Mesoamericans, the real Americans, the only real Americans on this ground, on this land, in North America, in South America, in Central America, and Canada, and Mexico, all of that. And those islands out there, and hell, let's just be for real, the whole entire planet. But the major area, all of that is Mesoamerican. Mesoamerica is a continent unto itself. It's falsely being called North America, South America, Central America. It's all America. That's our continent. This is our continent. This is our base of power. America, or what's being called America, is our base of power. Just like the Caucasian, he got Europe, even though we had Europe before him. But we let him have Europe, because ain't nothing over there any damn way. Europe is their base of power. You see, there wasn't nothing over in Europe till we put things in Europe. There was nothing in Europe until bronze people, your Moors and them, brought culture into Europe, brought civilization into Europe. We civilized the so-called white man. He didn't civilize us. How the hell you going to civilize us when we had civilizations older than you? We got civilizations older than you, but you civilized us. Think about that. Do that even make sense? The so-called white man lies talking about he civilized our people. He taught our people. He didn't teach our people a goddamn thing. How you going to civilize people when we got civilizations older than you? Does that even make sense? So what was we doing? Obviously, we would have to be civilized if we got civilization. You can't run some savage, tribal thing for too long. People just killing each other. No. In order for civilizations to go thousands and thousands of years, which is what our civilizations did, you have to have civilized, intelligent people. You have to have civilized, intelligent people. And our history denotes that. Look at the culture. Look at the architecture. Look at the artwork. Look at the farming. Look at look at everything our people contributed. Look at everything we did. They look back at our culture and say, "Oh, they were a advanced culture." Did that sound like savages? Do that sound like savages? When he talk about the artwork and the pictures and the agriculture and the architectural community and the agricultural community, all the things, the artisans, all this stuff to denote a real culture, how are these people savages? How the white man gonna civilize those people? And these people had, and like I said, they come from a background, the history of people being savages, killing each other, raping each other. You see, eating each other. They want to probably put cannibalism on us. What do you think the first Caucasians who came to America did when they couldn't find any food? They didn't know how to farm the land. This is in their history. They started eating each other. They even killed a few of our people and ate them before we showed them how to farm land, before we showed them how to grow food here. They want to lie and say it was the Mongoloid Indians that did. That's a damn lie. You ain't never seen no Mongoloid native, Mongoloid American Indian farmers. You've never seen no Indian farmers. You see, I've never seen no Indian farmers. Please tell me where. You've always, for the longest time, you've always known so-called black men being farmers. You've always known so-called black people being farmers because we were always farming this land. We grew crops for the so-called white man to eat. We fed these people. So if anybody civilized anybody, if it wasn't for so-called black people, you need to get it right, Ben Carson, coon that you are, Sambo that you are. Yet you're supposed to be so intelligent, you a brain surgeon. I think, like I said, you need a brain transplant. You need to get it right. The only people that was doing the civilizing was our people. The only people, if had it not been for our people, the white man would have been somewhere in a damn cave eating on each other, freaking on each other like they do now. You know, even though they just in suits now and they got haircuts. They would have been somewhere in the cave somewhere eating on each other, feeding on each other, freaking on each other, destroying each other, wiping each other out with all kinds of filth and plagues and diseases, STDs and everything else. These are, like I said, again, when you start to do the history, look into the real history, they show you who these people are, and it shows you who you are. You see, it shows you who they are and who you are. You see, we need this, this cold water in our face, because even to this point right now, that whole lie of our people being uncivilized and being brought in chains from Africa and the white man helping our people, a lot of our people, as much as they claim, oh, yeah, we don't believe that, we know we civilized the white man, a lot of you Negroes don't. You know how you know that? Look at right now how that thing trickles down the belief that the white man is superior over our people, and that they civilized us and they know more than us. You know how you know that trickles down into the minds of our people today? Look at what's going on with this jab. Why these Negroes trusting the beast so much? They don't trust in the beast because they scared of the COVID. They don't trust in him because they trust in him because they still believe with the lie that he's going to help you, that he's going to civilize you, that he somehow has something to cure you or help you. They don't. They don't. You see, y'all still buying into this lie that they brought you over here and they civilized you and stuff like that, and whatever the case is. You see, that's all. You still buying into it. So we got to get away from that. And the only way to get away from that is first and foremost by knowing who we are as a people, our heritage, because it was important for me to pick up this part of our heritage and culture as Mesoamerican, because nobody else is doing it, number one. And it was meant for me to obviously come and do it. And also because before you go forward into the future, you have to know where you came from. But I was not going to allow our people to go forward as the Mentalians, as the Republican Mentellect, without knowing where we came from. We ain't going to sit up here and say, oh, we came from Africa. No. Our children have to know our full heritage, our full history, our full account going forward. They have to know about our Mesoamerican ancestry and our Mentalian ideology going forward. You see, all that has to be in place. So the Republican Mentellect, the Mesoamerican community, over time will Voltron into one, publicly anyway. Just letting y'all know that for future reference. That time is coming because it's important. There'll still be the Republican Mentellect, there'll still be the Mesoamerican community, but we will Voltron down the line for the public so that we can encompass fully the reality of what our people came to be going forward into the future. See, we need our Native American and our Egyptian culture redefined, reanalyzed, and so we know that this is all, or these were all originally encompassed in ancient Mesoamerican culture. Again, this is why we're drawn to it. You live a certain way. I tell you, you live a certain way for thousands of years. I don't care what people try to do to you over 100 years, over 200 years. Culture, that heritage will connect to you again, will make its way to you again. It will connect to you and make its way to you again in some way, shape, or form. The memory of that culture and that heritage will be there. It will be there And that's why our people like ancient Egyptians. That's why we like Native American stuff, because it's all Mesoamerican. It's all Mesoamerican. You see, you go and look on the walls of the ancient Mesoamericans. You look at the Mayans. You look at the Olmecs, some of the statues. You see all the wall drawings of the Mayans and the Aztec. It looks just like the walls in ancient Egypt. Look like the same set, the same drawing, the same bronze people, falsely being called black, falsely being called black, falsely being called African American, falsely being called Negroes. It's the same copper-colored bronze race of people. Same culture, same heritage, Mesoamerican. Even the term American is ours. It's a Mayan word. You see, it's connected. You don't have people try to connect it in another word. I'm a Raka, and whatnot. Fine. Wherever it comes from within America, because we got a lot, but it's really coming from the Mayan culture. You see, like I said, the Asians came over there and they mixed in with our people. They came and mixed in with our people. You know, and a lot of our people, they, you know, the bronze men, you know, they took the Asian women, went in unto them. Some of the women was mixing with the Asian men. Then we mixed in with some of them. It was more the bronze men mixing with the Asian women, having babies, offspring. You see? So that's why we have that culture. That's why we're drawn to that. This is why we're really drawn to that. Why we're drawn to the Native American and drawn to the ancient Egyptian stuff. Because it all originates in Mesoamerica. Mesoamerica is the oldest civilization. Is the oldest civilization. They'll say Sumeria and all that. That's debatable. But Mesoamerican civilization is the oldest civilization. You see, they name certain, they talk about the Olmecs. They learn certain periods of Mesoamerican history and heritage. But ultimately, the white man even admitted when he talked about the oldest civilizations on Earth, he put up there Sumeria, he put up the Mayans, I think he said the Olmecs, he put up two different Mesoamerican cultures. And the reason why he do it, because all of those cultures are linked to each other. From Olmec or Olmen to Aztec, Inca, Maya, these were all the same people who over time just evolved into other things, changed names, you know, changed languages, but it was all pretty much the same people. The same people. Just growing, evolving into something else, changing their names, things like that. You know. And really it probably ain't that even much of a change. Because the white man, he only understand but so much. Probably a group of people who was over here, like for example, if you have a bunch of people under a society, one group of people from this area comes into power, and they might have been referred to as these people. Then another group comes into power over time, and it's these people, but they all still united. That's like, okay, the power of this country is in D.C. So we all, you know, it's Washington. So now next thing you know, it's in Kentucky somewhere or somewhere in Alabama. So you'll think that these are different groups of people, but it's all linked to the United States. That's obviously how things went in Mesoamerican, ancient Mesoamerica, where it was the same people, because where else are all these other people going if they're all bronze people, all so-called black bronze people? It's the same people over time, moving different places, changing names, changing, where the government is in society, who's in charge. So it's the same people. Why you think the white man grouped them all into Mesoamerican? He didn't say, oh, this is this culture here, this is this culture. He said all of them are grouped into Mesoamerican, because that was his way of saying it's all the same people. And these are, or we are their descendants. We are the descendants of the ancient Mesoamericans. We're not African Americans. We have nothing to do with Africa at all. And you got Mesoamericans in Africa who were transported there, who traveled there, who escaped there, who went over into Western Africa. But life, make no mistake about it, life started here. You can point to Mesoamerican culture. And, I'm sick and tired, like I said, a lot of you Negroes, especially with Umar Johnson, a lot of you Pan-African and you Hotep Negroes, a lot of y'all try to attach the red, black, and green Pan-Africanism, which is a scam. That whole red, black, and green is some made-up, false, contrived image that was created here in America. All that red, black, and green Pan-African stuff. Like I said, Pan-Africanism, pansexualism, it's all the same people that make up all these Luciferians, make up this nonsense to keep our people in darkness. That's nothing but some false, all that Kwanzaa crap. All that's a bunch of Satanists, Marxists, Luciferians who created that false narrative of our people, man, to keep our people in darkness. How you give up people and tell our people we so-called African Americans, but there's no culture attached to African Americanism. You know what the culture, I told you what the culture is of African Americanism. It's you niggas came over on slave ships. We got you from some part of West Africa. All Pan-Africanism is, or African Americanism is the creation of, or the newly created story of the so-called white man about our heritage. Yeah, let me get rid of the whole copper-colored people, the copper-colored race. We got to create another narrative for these niggas. So what's the narrative? Oh, y'all, we're going to call this African American studies and African American history, and we'll get the Negroes to push Pan-Africanism on their people, and we'll tell them this is where it goes. Y'all came from Africa. We took y'all as slaves and brought you from Africa into America on slave ships, on cargo slave ships. We put you in slavery. We dominated you. We whipped your ass, and we did whatever. We're gonna leave out the part where we raped your women. We're gonna leave out the part where we sodomized your children and sodomized you men like the degenerates we are. We're gonna leave that part out, okay? But we are gonna tell you, but we'll just say we brought you over here. We civilized you, and we taught you how to read and write. We let you read and write and have a university over here and everything. And you basically went to civil rights, and you got your rights, and now you're African American now. That's your history right there. And you got a lot of Coon, Sambo, Boule Negroes who are posing as Pan-Africanists. You got a lot of Coon, Sambo, Boule Negroes who are posing as Pan-Africanists out here, who are posing as Pan-Africanists. And like I said, they really Boule Negroes, you see, that were out here to push that madness to our people, that African lie to our people. I told you, Malcolm X started to sell out. You seen him with the damn dashiki on before he died. He started to grew the hair on his face, the beard on his face. He went a damn dashiki, totally away from our true heritage and culture. Because if you look at the ancient people of those lands of Mesoamerica, the men didn't have no facial hair. The Olmecs, the Aztec, the Inca, they didn't have no facial hair. They didn't have no facial hair. The men did not have facial hair. That's why we right now, we don't wear facial hair. The men in the Republic and in the Mesoamerican, we don't wear no facial hair because we are continuing on. Because facial hair came with the mixing of our seed with these different races of people, these Mongoloids and these Caucasoids. That's where all the facial hair comes from, these Arabs and all that. That's where the facial hair comes. We didn't, in the ancient world, we didn't have facial hair. Okay? So the beast trying to get us to put beads on our face and adopt the whole culture of these damn Caucasians, you see, trying to get us to adopt their culture because we got our genetics mixed in with them, you see, and we can start growing hair out of our face. But again, that's something we're going to have to breed out. But again, they're trying to, these so-called Pan-Africanist, Hotep Negroes, they are working in concert with the beast. A lot of these Negroes are Boule Negroes, man. They Boule Negroes. They talk about the Boule and all that, but they are part of the Boule, man. A lot of these Pan-Africanist Negroes are the new Boule. They're going to be the ones standing in the front of you trying to connect with your Mesoamerican heritage. They're going to keep pushing this African lie. And again, that whole out of Africa mindset or even believing life started in Africa and Africa, that's from the white man and his lies. That's nothing but theories from the white man. This whole, that's Louis S.B. Leakey and them with that everything. See, life started. A lot of y'all go off of that Leakey, who was a damn racist and a damn liar, who set up here talking about all life started in Africa from these primitive Negroes. You see, he had some face up there of some monkey / nigger looking creature. Come on, see, all life started from here. Okay, right. Y'all don't believe that. You don't believe that because if you say that African, whatever the hell that monkey-looking woman or person is your ancestor, then why don't you treat your so-called black people better since you come from them? Because y'all don't believe that. They know the real truth. They don't believe that. That's what they tell you all and tell the world. Just forget about, like I said, they just forget totally about the Mesoamerican heritage. A heritage that's thousands of years old. The white man misses the oldest heritage on the planet, the oldest civilization on the planet. Just forget totally about the Olmecs, the Aztec, the Inca. Again, these are civilizations that went for thousands of years, longer than ancient Egypt. Longer than ancient Egypt. You see, Mesoamerican culture spilled over into what you call Egypt. You see, Mesoamerican culture spilled over into ancient Egypt, or what you're calling ancient Egyptian culture. That, again, that's Mesoamerican culture, the serpent and everything else. Like I said, you find that serpent, the plum serpent, the feathers and all that stuff. Again, this is all Mesoamerican. This is all taken from the Mesoamerican. You see on the Superman, when I showed y'all the Superman, we watched it on the family movie night, Superman, remember when his father was riding on the serpent or the reptile with the feathers? That's all drawn from Mesoamerican culture. The serpent or the dragon with the feathers, father was riding on it in the Superman thing. Where do you think that comes from? That comes from Mesoamerican heritage and culture. You see, and we're going to need our people to wake up, man. You see, we're going to need our people, all of our people. You want to see when the evolution starts on our people, when we dump the lie that we came out of cargo slave ships as Africans. As soon as we dump that lie and acknowledge that we are the true Americans, the real Mesoamericans here, then we're going to have a different mindset when it comes to law, order, and this land that we're standing on, which is ours, because the same way we were the first ones to stand on it, we're going to be the last ones to stand on it, and the people renewed to stand on it long after all of these invaders who came here, and that goes for the white man and everybody else, long after they're gone, we're going to be the only real Americans left, the Mesoamericans. You see, don't let him come with this nonsense talking about America is for white people. Really? No, America is not for white people, because this is not America. This is Mesoamerica. It's not no America for no white people. Europe is for white people. Europe is for white people. Tell you that America is for white people when you fought in every war in America. To have an America for white people to stand up here and hand you their ass to kiss. They wouldn't end up stamp and hand you their ass to kiss or have no place to come if it wasn't for us. But they're going to tell you America's for white people. You go back to Africa, like they didn't come from Europe, out of the damn caves of Europe. Why don't they go back to Europe? Dirty, stinking Europe. Why don't they go back? They don't want to go back because ain't nothing going on there, just like it was nothing going on here. They came here because we had something going on here. You see? They want to tell you, oh, America's for white people. Really? And they're going to tell you, well, y'all can go back to Africa. Y'all can go to Africa. They don't want you to go back to Africa neither. They really don't. I told you, if every so-called black person in America said, the mass majority said, we leave and we're going to Africa, they stop you at the border. No, you cannot. No, you cannot. Because then what will happen is, we let all these Negroes go to Africa, then all the resources that we get, they're probably going to stop us from getting the resources. We're going to have to fight these Negroes in Africa because they're trying to take over Africa. So they won't even let you have Africa. The Asians over there, the Caucasians over there, they in Ghana, they over there owning stores. So if you went over there into Africa and you said, look, we got to kick them all out of here. They got to go to America. We're getting them out of here. They don't want to do that. So they telling you to go back to Africa, but they won't. But they in Africa. They won't get out of Africa. You go over to Africa, they telling you in South Africa this is our land over here. Why are you making us leave and get off of our farms? You see? Shouldn't they all want to get up out of Africa since Africa ain't their home? So the white man tell you go back to some place where you come from, but he in your homeland. If Africa's supposed to be your homeland, no, you should be telling him go back to Europe where you came from. This is our land. This is Mesoamerican land, the real Americans. Let them know that our true culture is Mesoamerican culture, and it is a real heritage and culture. We are the mound builders. We are the pyramid builders. We are the first society. We are the warriors who were using arrows and bows and things like that, had the feathers in our hair. That's all our culture, the bows, the feathers, the leather skins and whatnot, the farming, the agriculture, the architecture, the artistry. That's all our culture, man. That's all Mesoamerican culture. That is culture that was here before the so-called American Indian came here, aka the Asian / East Indian, all of those people, before the so-called white man was even thought about being over here. This is our culture, man. We had this culture here when the white man was in caves, man. There was Mesoamerican culture. When the white man was in caves, on all fours. That's his heritage. That's his culture. Notice he doesn't talk much about his heritage or culture or where he come from. He want to cop this mindset, this superior mindset, like he just dropped down out of the sky as some advanced being who was running things. No, he has a culture and heritage too. He's always quick to try to remind you about this false narrative that you came swinging out of trees and he captured you and brought you in. But he don't talk about how he was crawling around on all fours in the Caucasus Mountains, right? Eating each other, freaking each other, being degenerates together, being homosexuals together. They don't talk about that. They don't talk about all the disease they brought here into this country and killed off a lot of our people with their filthy diseases, their STDs. You see, we didn't have that here. They don't talk about all the rats they brought on ships they brought over here. There were no rats here. There was no rat population. Them rats come from Europe. You see, or the plagues they brought over here, because the plagues they got over here was native to England and Europe and places, especially in England and Europe where there was rats at. You see, that's their heritage. That's their culture. That's their history. They come from that. They come from people, even their so-called royals, they come from people who don't wash themselves, who spread diseases, typhoid, like that woman Typhoid Mary came over here. See, she's one of your modern day. She was one at that time, one of your modern day Caucasians. She came over here getting down how they really get down. Don't wash themselves, nasty people, fleas all over them, and their hair and their animal fur. See, this is your Caucasian people. This is your white people. This is your Asian people. This is your East Indian people. This is where they come from. They come from slums. You see, they come from cultures where they shit in bags and throw them out of the window, talking about look out below. That was their plumbing system until the Moors got there and gave them a damn plumbing system. Shitting in bags, pissing in the corners and whatnot, throwing shit out of the window, women being on their periods, not changing, just bleeding and whatnot, not washing themselves down there, being funky and stink. You see, that's where they come from. And they got the nerve talking about they civilized us. Really? See, you have to constantly be reminded, and you have to remind your children about their history. Now, we need to get films and things on that and watch films and let your children see films. And I'll say this. I'll just go ahead and say it. Not that I care too much about the people, but the content was pretty good in the Tariq Nasheed buck breaking, and 1804. He's got good historical films and whatnot. So, and over time, we'll probably do our own stuff, our own historical stuff, for our children to see, so we know who we are and we know who they are. More importantly, we know who we are, but also equally as important to know who and what they are. I'm talking about these humans. That's very important. That's why we got the book out coming, 144, I'm sorry, 144 great Mesoamerican inventors, which will be out, compiled by Sister Enra Demani Z. Pai. She compiled that 400-page book. Shout out to Enra Demani Z. Pai. She put that book together. Under my direction, I told her to put together a book. I wanted us to have a definitive hardcover book of our Mesoamerican heritage so that we could see our children. And we started associating ourselves collectively in this community as Mesoamerican, because Mesoamerican is a real culture. Just like Italian is a real culture, just like Irish is a real culture, just like Asian is a real culture and heritage, so is Mesoamerican. Don't let the white man come in here and try to co-opt our heritage and culture by calling himself American. He is not an American. The white man is not an American. He is wherever the fuck he came from before he got into America. Excuse my language. He is whatever the hell he was before he came into America. You see, if he came from Ireland, he's just an Irish person in America. If he came from England, he's an English person in America. If he came from Italy, he's an Italian in America. They are not Americans. They are invaders. The Asians came here. They are not Americans. They are Chinese people from China who came to America. They are not Americans. None of these people are Americans. The only real Americans is us, who are falsely being called black people, or falsely being lied to. We the only ones that's being lied to about our culture. We're the only ones being lied. We're the only ones being lied to, being told we came from Africa. They ain't telling the Asians they came from Europe. They ain't telling the Caucasians they came from Asia. They ain't telling them they got their own narrative and story down about their people. But why are they sitting up here dictating where our people come from? Why are they sitting up here telling us about our history? Because that's who's telling us about this history. It ain't you so-called Pan-Africanists. Because you Negroes, you get your marching orders, you get your information from the so-called white man. You get it from the so-called white man. You get your information from the white man. Okay? Your history professors and teachers and your so-called scholars and whatnot who all on board with telling this lie that our life started in Africa somewhere. Yet you totally ignore our Mesoamerican heritage. The white man, he made the mistake by telling you that Mesoamerican culture is the oldest culture and civilization on the earth. He made the mistake in doing that. And he's outdates Africa. Because it's one thing for you to say life started in Africa. What does that mean? All life started in Africa. What does that really mean? You saying all things and everything come from Africa. How do you know that? How do you know that? Oh, well, see, brother, they did the research on they found artifacts. No, they didn't. No, they didn't. That's a lie. Because it's no coincidence that the guy S.B. Leakey, I think he was South African or something like that. These guys, a lot of these people, their whole narrative on race and origin and heritage, it's already skewed already. Their minds, these people already got those racist minds. Because if you notice, when they were talking about so-called African or black people being the primitive Africans, in which the white people come out of the primitive Africans, in other words, they were saying you Negroes are primitive, and it wasn't until you moved out of Africa. This is the story. All life started in Africa, and then as certain black people or whatever, evolved and moved out of Africa, you got the idea to move out of Africa, and then you eventually became white, and then that's when y'all start getting civilized. This is the story you want to tell. Well, let's just go with that argument for a minute. I see you 704. I'm about to answer. But let's just go with that argument for a minute. Obviously, if you saying all life started in Africa and somebody got the bright idea to move out of Africa and go into Europe and civilization started there, even though that's backwards as hell and that's a lie, then that means the African, the so-called black man or whatever you call him, had to be the smartest one, because if he had the sense to move out of Africa and go into Europe, obviously they would know how to travel. So how primitive could they have been if they had the sense to travel and not stay in that area, according to your lie? Okay? So they traveled out of Africa to go into Europe and basically spread diseases. They became so civilized, they left out of Africa where they were supposed to be primitive, but they went into Europe and they came up with all these diseases and not washing themselves and throwing shit in bags and throwing them out of windows. And so that's the civilization y'all came into from Africa, from the primitive Africans. You went into a civilization where y'all became barbaric, where you became having diseases, having sex with animals and things like that. That's your history in Europe. That's your history during the Ice Age. That's your history. So how is that an evolution? How is that evolution? How can you doing that civilize anybody? That's your behavior. But see, they don't tell that part of their history. They don't want to bring that up. At least the ones who trying to have the racialist mindset and point, they don't want to bring that up. You got some white people that'll straight up tell you the truth. Some of them will, but that's far and few in between. You got to watch them too. They take a call. 704.
Zach Mansour.
Menzak.
Now I'm just going to add about how black people act like it's hard to do research and act like, just because the white people do research that's the only thing they can go off of. But, you don't even have to do all that kind of research. You could just look at like even if you don't have to like read into a book or something like that, you could just look at what they give you and realize that it don't add up. Because, I mean, like, the black people are the only ones that apparently can't trace their ancestry back too far, but then also the Mesoamerican and ancient Egyptians are the ones that people debate on who their descendants are, like, oh, we don't know what happened to these people at this point, and we also don't know your history past this point, going back, and it's like you can connect it right there. Or, like, people could go to, like, their, I guess, like, their eldest relatives. And I know looking at, like, my eldest relatives, she has nothing to do with Africa. She talks about Native American and all that. She has, like, the feathers and things like that. So, I mean, like, it's not that hard. And then, like, enough people do that, they could put something together.
Exactly. You see, again, I said this last time. I said we used to think our people was coons, and we thought they were shambles when our grandmothers and all of them were talking about, we was always in America. We was Native American Indians. We thought they was coons for saying that, and we was like with the pro-black thing. No, we come from. No, we was actually being the coons, and they was actually right, but they just was off with the whole Indian thing. You see, because the so-called Indians co-opted the whole Mesoamerican heritage and culture, and they're calling it American Indian culture. That's basically all they're doing.
Right. Yeah, the only time we had thought that they were like coons was because they were kind of doing it to try and relate to other people. They weren't doing it to embrace it to stand as their own people, right? That was kind of where that came from.
Well, they had a connection to the culture because, like I said, all of what you're calling American Indian culture, whatever, is Mesoamerican culture. All of what's called ancient Egyptian culture, from the pyramids, the serpent, that's Mesoamerican culture. That all originates from Mesoamerican culture, from the Olmecs, the Aztec, the Inca, the Mayan, who went to these different places and spread those cultures over into those places.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's clear. That's all I had to add. I'll keep listening.
Okay. Minzak. Yeah, so it's important that we keep this going now that we caught this spark in this streak. It's important in raising our people that we know our true heritage, our true history, because nothing ever is going to be right for us in this land until we stop perpetrating this fraud. What is the fraud that we're perpetrating, or what is the fraud that we're allowing to be perpetrated on our people? This lie that we are Africans that came into America. See, this whole black narrative, this whole African American narrative, they got to go, man. For 2022 coming in, man, they got to go, man. That should be the end of that. We need a real movement, a real society that brings forward our ancient heritage, our current heritage. I'm not going to call it ancient heritage. This is ongoing because we're still in America. We still in America, and even if we are in different places, we influenced by American culture. Why do you think that is? It's not because of the white man, because the white man brought no culture into America. He brought no culture. The culture was already here through us. We had culture in America that they just copied. He brought no culture into America. The only thing he brought into America is slavery, homosexuality, right? Rats, diseases. That's all he brought into America. War. Well, niggas was fighting here, but not on the level they was. You see, that's all he brought into America. And this fake government that they set up, where they basically said, oh, it's lawful for you to own, for us to own your people. Man, you Negroes back then should have flipped out and just killed everything around you. You should have. Because that's what they would have did. But see, they got to convince you to act like property, act like possessions, while they act like people. See, they don't expect you to act like people. They expect you to act like possessions, like property. And you know what? A lot of you niggas still do that. You niggas that sell out and tell our people that we African and we came over on slave ship, telling that white man lie. You niggas are property of the beast, man. You are possessions. You niggas is rolling up your sleeve to get hit up in your arm. You niggas are property and possessions of the beast, man. You don't think it's real people, because real people would never go for that. And like I said, the beast, he got it to where our people started thinking themselves as property and possessions. And they didn't want to stand up as a people and fight. fight for their freedom, kill for their freedom. You see? He didn't want to raise those kind of people. Those are the Maroons down in Florida. Because you have some of our people, our Mesoamerican ancestors, who was the Maroons in Florida and whatnot, who fought for the freedom of our people that wanted to stay free while these damn beasts was trying to enslave them and put them in slavery. So they encroach on their life to be free. You get to they live their life to put you in bondage. You see? And like I said, they kept at it. They kept at it. They kept at it. When you keep at something long enough and you allow people to keep doing what they're doing, eventually their narrative will become your narrative. If you allow them to feed you, you allow them to teach you, your children and everything else, then over time, systematically, like the white man do see, he does things systematically over time and over time. He don't just do it and then stop. He does everything over time systematically, until eventually everybody accepts it. That's how it works. He kept calling you black. First, our people resisted it. They resisted the whole black thing. They resisted it. But over time, he kept calling our people black, kept calling them African Americans, forced it on our people, made enough of them black, stupid-ass cartoons with the black face and the red lips, which, by the way, those black faces that they show you on the black faces, the white man shit with the red lips, the minstrel show images, you look back on a lot of those walls in ancient Mesoamerica, you had people looking like that, dark skin like that. You know, they exaggerate dark skin with the reddish lips or whatever the case may be. They had people on the wall looking like that. That's not nothing from Africa. So a lot of those people saw those walls, and they know that that's our people. That's why they brought that image off of the walls into minstrel shows. You see. So keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. And a lot of y'all forget. A lot of you so-called black people forget. That's why the whole white man, he don't forget nothing. That's why he stayed constantly teaching a lie to you, and nobody's here to teach you the truth, the reality of who we are. See, a lot of you, like I said, you'll get some of these people who will come out here and will, okay, yeah, we're these teachers and we're this, and we're going to teach about our American Indian history, whatever the hell y'all call it. You guys get up here, and then after a while, your YouTube videos and things get played out, and it gets lost. See, this has to be instilled in order for our Mesoamerican heritage to lock into the minds of our children and go forward. In order for that to happen, we have to have this taught to our children culturally as a community, as a collective community. Forget this whole African American community, this black community. There's no black community. There's no African American community. There's a Mesoamerican community that has been formed. In the image of Amen, under the image and under the auspices of Amen, there's a Mesoamerican community that has been formed. You see? So we must take our Mesoamerican history and heritage forward. Again, not trying to relive and not trying to go and do what they did. We're not going backwards to relive nothing. We ain't going backwards to try and find out what their culture and what they was doing back then. Whatever they did back then is what they did back then. We're not trying to relive that. We're going forward as Mesoamerican men and women. We're going forward as a culture, as a race of people, which is a real culture, a real race. And like I said, I can point out the mounds, the pyramids, you know, the headdress, the music, the drum, all that, the foods. All we got a rich heritage, a rich history of Mesoamerican culture, and we spread it all around the world. That's why, you know, everybody pretty much connects with American culture, not because of the so-called white man, but because of us, whether it be through music, whether it be through sports, celebrity. Like I said, people know more about or connected to America just by things our people do, whether it dances, music, sports. This is what the world looks at as celebrity. This is what they want to follow. This is what they want to be in alignment with. We need to stop acting as though these people who are so-called Indians, especially so-called Indian tribal chiefs. Let me tell you, a lot of those Indian tribal chiefs are racist as hell, man. They just like the so-called white man, them Asian-looking Indian tribal chiefs. They don't accept you so-called black people in the tribe. And why are you trying to join any tribe with these people? They already got the lie implanted in their head that that's really their culture. They sit up here, they stealing your culture too, these so-called Native Americans who are nothing but Asians and East Indians mixed who crossed the Bering Straits. They're stealing your culture too. They're sitting there telling you, you Negroes with the feathers in your hair, you niggas with the feathers in your hair and the arrows, y'all ain't the real natives. Y'all came from Africa on slave ship. They'll cop that attitude with you. And y'all want to sit around some goddamn powwows with them. Why you Negroes are coons? You even become coons to the damn so-called American Indians, so-called Native Americans, which they're not the Native Americans. I'm not even going to call them the Native Americans. They are American Indians. That's what they are. They're your first immigrants. They're your first immigrants, though. Your American Indians. They're not Native Americans. The only Native Americans here are Mesoamericans, and that's you so-called black people. Bronze people, copper-colored races. 1828, look that up. 1828, Merriam-Webster definition of a American. Look up the 1828 definition of American. They'll tell you bronze, copper-colored races. That's you people falsely being called black. It's not no so-called Indians. They're not the original people here. They're not the first people here. And y'all need to stop trying to link to their heritage and telling yourself, oh, you see, I got Indian in me. I got Indian in me. Stop because I got Indian in me shit. Please. You're a Mesoamerican. That's what that means. You ain't got no Indian in you. You're Mesoamerican. That's what you're trying to say. So let me just go ahead and say it so we can stop the confusion. There ain't no Indian in us. We're Mesoamerican. That's what you're calling Indian. We're not Africans. You know, I'm sick and tired of seeing these Negroes take the Ankh and put it on red, black, and green, trying to make us, you know, because they trying everything. They try everything to make us buy into the whole African thing. They try everything. This is why they'll say, oh, yeah, right, you're right, brother. But, you know, originally everything started in Africa. You know, that's the argument with the Pan-Africanists. They'll go, yeah, brother, yeah, we did a lot of stuff here. But, see, originally, you know, everything started in Africa. Okay, but where's the civilization at? Why is more civilization over here? And why was our people living over here and not in Africa? Why was our people living over here before the white man had pyramids built and everything else? Why was they not building that in Africa? Why wasn't they building that in Africa where they supposedly came from? Umar Johnson. Why since you pick and choose when you want to listen to the white man, why is the Mesoamerican society the oldest society, or the oldest, considered one of the oldest civilizations on earth, which is really the oldest? They say one of. Why is that considered that way? And you'll think it's a compliment. Is it really a compliment to tell us that we come from a bunch of tribal Africans? Is that really a compliment? Is it really a compliment to tell us that we come from people who don't want to have nothing to do with you, who do not consider you their people? Is that a compliment? That's what we should be flattered about. We should be wanting to big up a red, black, and green flag, a flag that not even the so-called Africans consider their flag. We should want to big that up. We should want to go and try and steal somebody else's culture or collect with somebody when we have a culture here. I'm sorry, man. I'm gonna just say it, man. You Negroes is pushing that Pan-African thing. You niggas got to be boule, man. You guys are boule. I'm convinced of that. You guys pushing this Pan-African stuff, you guys are boule, man. You niggas that was educated by the so-called white man who pushed this African-American heritage. You fraternity Negroes. You Phi Beta Kappa niggas. You niggas are the ones who push this African-American thing. Because you want. That's what the white man tells you to push. This is what he teaches you in your so-called African-American studies, which he programs you to believe in that you came from Africa. And like I said, in the history of people, he always cleans up his history. He dirties up your history and say, oh, well, see, that's what we found. And you dumbass Negroes believe him. See, this is what we found about Africa and your people. But he always cleans up his history. He cleans up his time in the caves. He cleans up his time where he spread all these diseases. He cleans up his time where he sat up here and committed all kinds of barbaric savagery, yet turns around and act like you the savage. He forgets the times of him practicing cannibalism and eating each other. They forget all that. And they want to attribute out to you. See, all that's forgotten. All that's forgotten. But why is it forgotten? Why is it really forgotten? Answer, because, like I said, they want to rewrite history. History is nothing but revised lies. That's all history is. History is nothing but revised lies of the so-called white man. That's what his history is. That's what his research is. His research is nothing but revised lies. And then people say, well, Nuben, you only want to go with the white man when he's saying something, about good about our people. No, that's not it. I go with what makes sense. I don't even need him to know that we were not primitive people. I don't need the white man to know that our people didn't come here as primitive people. Because if you are being produced from something greater, then how can you be lesser than that? If you are being produced into, because again, if we got produced by a greater being, whether you want to refer to as God, we say Amen is an extension of our race. If we were produced from something that was greater, how is it that we are lesser? Did that even make sense? Now we know how the so-called white man know humans are lesser because we took our genetics and put it together with animal genetics to get them. We spliced our genetic with the animal genetic. So yeah, they were created lesser. But if let's just say we were created or projected here, you see, we don't have any animal genetics in us. So how does a God or a creator create something that's lesser? They're going to create something that's more or that has the ability to become more. You can't create something that's lesser and you're supposed to be supreme. You have to create something that is lesser with the ability to become more. Because what is the point in bringing it forward if you're going to leave it as a primitive state? You follow what I'm saying? What is the point in even bringing it into being if it can only evolve but so much? You see, the white man was able to evolve because our genetics is in him. The only reason he's able to evolve and do what he's doing and have an understanding of things and even have a comprehension on some level and do what he did is because of our genetics in him. Our genetics of building societies within him. We put our genetics in him. This is why he builds societies today, because that's a copy from our people. That's why he looks at ancient societies and whatnot, because he wants a reference to go. Again, give him enough time. All the Egyptians, all the ancient Kemites are going to be white. He's already doing that already. The Mesoamericans are going to be white because he needs a reference point. He controls history, and y'all stupid enough to allow him to teach history to your children. Don't you know he's always going to shortchange you in history? He's never going to tell you the truth because the history, the heritage, the reality of who we are, who he is, does not look good for him. It does not look good in his image and his likeness. It makes him look like lesser, and he don't want to look like what he actually is, lesser. He don't want that. He wants to keep that superior attitude up because that's how he stays in power. He stays in power by promoting himself as the ultimate power in the world over our people. See, not over everybody else, because everybody else pretty much falls in line. But the biggest way he promotes his power, his authority in the world is by having power over our people. That's why, if you notice, in the society, they make sure they keep our people with nothing while everybody else has a piece of the pie. They keep our people with nothing. Mm-hmm. I'm not talking about one or two you Negroes to get some money, get a couple $1 million, $1 billion. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about on the whole. They'll let certain people get this kind of money, but then the mass majority of you, like I said, per capita, the beast, they make more money. Everybody make more money than you. Everybody prospers more than you. It's not even argued that, they admit that you so-called black people get the shorter end of the stick in this society, but that's set up purposely. That's set up purposely by the system of the so-called white man to make sure that he keeps you down. Because by keeping you down, this is how he keeps his power in check. You see, he feeds off of you. He feeds off of you. His power is drawn from keeping you out of power. This is why he can't have you so-called black men being masculine right now. He needs you black men being feminine right now. He needs you black men being homosexuals because that takes away any competition that he has when he comes to take your woman. You see, that takes away any competition when he wants to come and breed with your woman and take your woman. That's why he has to push you as homosexuals. He has to make your woman and the world see you as emasculated because there can't be two flows of testosterone in the room. Because if you stand up in your testosterone and all your male or man-driven testosterone energy as Mesoamerican men, then it makes his pale in comparison, his Caucasian, pale, white ass, and made up American history pale in comparison to who you truly are, who you really are. See, you the real ones, he the fake one. See, but you got to remove the real ones, and then the image of the fake looks real. You see, when you remove the real ones, then all that's left is the fake. Then after a while, the fake becomes real. You follow what I'm saying? They got to take out the real ones. So this is why they got to emasculate you so-called black men. Because the white man, he wants to be the image of masculinity. He wants to be the image of masculinity. That's why he has to emasculate you. He knows the target. If he is going to be the image of masculinity that all the women want to be with and breed with, because he needs bronze, especially the so-called black woman, he needs her to breed with to keep his seed going forward, because this white woman is not carrying his seed like that no more. I told you, they're going out of stock. So he needs you so-called black women to breed his seed with. So he knows 9 times out of 10, he has to create these false scenarios of black men being on the down low, being faggots and homosexual and weirdos and pedophiles and everything else, just so that he can turn around and say, see, these guys are not manly, they're emasculated, so you need to come be with me, black woman. And you know what? A lot of you simple-minded ass black females are going for this nonsense. Same way they go for this African-American nonsense that they brought us here on cargo slave ships. That we were a defeated people, right? How are we a defeated people if we still standing today? And we still coming in contact with our heritage today. We may have been down, but we damn sure wasn't out. Damn sure wasn't out. We was down, but we wasn't out. And our down period, our period where we were down, that was the time for contemplation, refocusing, restructuring in the down period, you see. And our down period and our black period should have been the time for redirection, restructure, regrouping of who we really were. You see, that was really what this black period was supposed to be for. You do know that. The black period was supposed to be a time of contemplation, resurrection, reconstruction, coming together for our time in which we are going through right now. See, because this represents the next world or the birth of a next society coming up, being regenerated again, you see. So we don't need no fake heritage. We don't need no fake culture. We don't need to call ourselves Israelites. We don't need to call ourselves Africans. We don't need to call ourselves Egyptians. We don't need to call ourselves Muslims. We don't need to call ourselves none of the things except for what we really are. See, because that's all based in fantasy. The reality is we in America. The reality is America is our home. The reality is that we are the descendants of the ancient Mesoamerican people. So why not take our heritage and our name forward? Why are we trying to take on some other name, whether it be from the Bible, the Quran, I don't care, the ancient Egyptian books? Why are we taking on names that have no real significance, that have had no real significance in our evolution and our growth? Why are we taking on that? You tell me, where's the evolution in being a damn Israelite? The Israelites still stand on the corner saying the same shit from 30 years ago, you know what I'm saying, still in the same book. There's no evolution in being an Israelite. There's no evolution in being a Pan-Africanist. We've been doing that for over 50 years plus, and you Negroes are still as torn and tattered in a state of confusion as ever. There's no sense in calling ourselves a Muslim or any of these things because, like I said, we've been there, we did that already. And and we're not trying to attach ourselves with no Arabs. Because no matter when you call yourself a Muslim or whatever, you're attaching yourself with the Arabs, whether you like it or not. We're not sharing no gods with them. We ain't sharing no religions with them. We are a race of supreme beings. We don't need to share no gods and no culture with anybody else. So when we stand up as Mesoamerican men and women of Amun descent, Mentelian descent, when we stand up with that, that's real. That's us. That's ours. Amun is us. Mentellect is us. Mesoamerican is us. It's all one thing combined for the greater evolution of our people. See, all this had to happen as it was meant to happen. And 2022 and going forward, we're going to see where the evolution takes us. See, because we needed this. our ancestors and our ascendants, because over time, like I said, our ancestors become our ascendants again, and we even become our ascendants. We keep coming back, or going forward, I should say, and regenerating. So we're constantly going forward in that bloodline. So we are regenerating. So it had to come out of who we were. That connection had to be made with our past, and in order for us to go forward into the present and into the future, go through the past, present, and the future. As one mind, one body, and one soul of people. This had to happen in real time.